What's up everyone, Lance Hedrick here, and something I didn't address in last week's video was, where the heck am I? I've been switching locations a lot during these videos, and today we're actually in my kitchen. The other ones I know people are like, oh, you have a beautiful kitchen. That was not my kitchen, that was my videographer's kitchen. This is actually my coffee station at my own house. So yeah, we're filming today in my own abode, which is exciting. It's really cool. Today, we're going to look at cupping at home and QB roll. So I think cupping is an incredible way to evaluate coffees. It's delicious, it's easy, and it's foolproof for the most part. It's a great way if you have one dose of something to get the full scope of how it tastes, and it's awesome. So I want to encourage you all to try cupping at home, and you don't have to have any specific equipment except for one thing, save for one thing. You do need to have a cupping spoon, something with a nice deep bowl, something that's circular. This is going to help you in your attempt to spray the coffee over your tongue, which we'll go over here in a second. So support your local coffee shop, your local roastery. A lot of them sell cupping spoons. Give it a check it out, see if they have some in stock, grab one, grab two actually, for the cleaning process, it really helps. But anyway, these are just a couple of the examples of cupping spoons. I've got like this one from my friends at Luminous Coffee. I've got this from Brewista, and this is the Tetsu Kasuya cupping spoon. So there are different styles, different shapes, different sizes, different weights, different balances, and different things like that. My kettle is now at temperature, by the way. That's what that beeping was. All right, so today I'm going to be cupping through 3 coffees that I recently received from the Coffee Vine subscription. They were sitting in customs for a while, so they're about a month and a half off roast, but no big deal. You can still cup and have a great time with it. Now, why cupping? Well, cupping is something that roasters typically use, and if you're a roaster and watching this and you don't cup, let me implore you to cup. It's the easiest and most effective way to really get a good understanding of your coffee. Now, you could use percolation, right? But the issue with percolation is channels can occur, and there's no channeling in cupping. It's just full immersion, and you're tasting it fully immersed. And, you know, some of you may ask, well, why not use like a French press or something? Well, the grounds are actually staying in for the full duration of that time, and you're not adding that agitation from the plunge. So you could French press, but you're not able to let it sit and continue cupping over time. So this is essentially like a French press without the press, right? And a smaller, wide-lipped bowl so that you are able to access it much more adequately, okay? So all you need, the tools you need that you can find at home is obviously your coffee that you're wanting to cup. Today I've got 3 African coffees, Ethiopia Rico, an Ethiopia Okolu, and a Rwanda Kanzu number 5 from 3 different roasters from around the world. And I'm going to be cupping these just in normal latte bowls. This is a 200 ml latte bowl, okay? So you want it to be wide-mouthed. And just to give you an idea, these are actually like legitimately different cupping bowls from different companies. So you have like this, where it starts shallow at the base and gets wider, wide-mouthed. You have this, which again is shallow at the base, wide-mouthed. And you have this, shallow, wide. They're all wide up at the mouth, which is the most important part in order to fully experience the coffees during the cupping process. All right? Then after that, what you need is a kettle that you can set your temp to, or you can do a stovetop kettle, it's fine. You'll want to bring it to boiling, take the lid off, and let it sit for about 15-20 seconds to come down. And you'll need some sort of grinder, some way to grind your coffee. And that's about it. I also use, you know, a scale and a towel. But other than that, you probably have everything in your house besides the cupping spoons. So let's talk about water temperature and grind size for this. Now, water temp, you're going to want it to be around 207 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 97 degrees Celsius. And for grind size, this is going to kind of mind freak some of you. Typically people talk about cupping and French press as being on the coarser end of things because they're immersion methods. But I'll actually argue, at least for me, you can do this how you like, that those 2 brews, because they're immersion, need to be finer grind sizes. So I think the coarsest you should be grinding is probably drip coffee, big old batch brew. Then you go to like a Chemex V60, Kalita, AeroPress, and then you have cupping and French press. Now, I know you're sitting there like, you're such a dum-dum. Let me tell you this. First off, please drink coffee how you like. No way is wrong, honestly. This is how I like it, and this is what makes sense to me that actually has proper data backing it up, proper information backing it up. And that is, whenever you toss hot water into coarsely ground grounds, or coarsely ground coffee, you have immediately coffee trying to extract coffee. That water has been saturated with coffee, right? With the extractants from coffee. So it becomes a lot harder and harder and harder to extract for two reasons. One, the water becomes weaker and weaker with its extraction potential. And two, those grounds are so big that it's really hard to keep going in deeper and deeper into those grounds. So the idea with grinding finer is making more readily available those extractants, okay? Those soluble entities within the grounds. So I like to go a lot finer. I'm actually grinding on a 24 on the niche, okay? So now a ratio, what Scott Rayo recommends is a 1:17 ratio, and I found that that works really well. I know the SCA recommends like a 1 to 18.1818181818181818, and I think that's I think their ratio is like 8 grams to 150 grams or something. Which, if you divide that, it's 18.1818181818. But I have found more success with a 1:17 ratio. So that's what I'm using. Now, I don't like to use scales for all of these. I like to just dump water in and go. So the best way to do that, because it doesn't matter if you're a gram or two off with the water, as long as your weight of coffee is within 1/10 of a gram of where it should be. What I like to do is see what the volume max is of my cup, and then divide that by my ratio. So now what I need to do is divide 200 by 17, since that's our ratio, which comes out to around 11.75, 11.76. So I'm just going to round up to 11.8. So I'm going to do 11.8 grams of coffee in each, since my Acacia Pearl reads to the tenths. I'm going to put 11.8 in each, and then when my water is at 207 or around 97 Celsius, I'm going to just fill the cups up all the way to the brim. That way I don't have to use scales with each one, do the little shifteroo, which would be difficult to, fill and shift without spilling. So I recommend that's how you do it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dose out my coffees, and then I'm going to grind them. And time lapse. And we're back. All right, so I've weighed out 11.8 for each bowl. I made sure they're right at 11.8. I ground them on the 24 setting on the niche, and I filled my bowls. So now I've got all my cups filled. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to observe the dry fragrance. And the way I like to do it, give it a little shake, kind of activate it. I like to tilt it kind of to the lip, and then get my nose as close as possible. It's kind of like with latte art, where you're getting as close as possible with your spout. You're going to do it with your snout. And I like to breathe in before going down, breathe out, and then and now I like to breathe out again up here. Who wants you to breathe on their grounds? That's kind of gross, especially with the world we're living in now with COVID. All right, so go through, make a few passes, sniff the dry fragrance, and make notes about it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our water, that's at 207 or 97 Celsius, and we're going to just splash it, fill it to the brim, and there's a specific way of pouring I'm going to show you for maximized agitation. It's just a way to make it spin so you get really nice agitation to really extract it during this cupping experience. All right, so I'm going to take it. We're at that 207.97 Celsius. We're going to just drop it in, and I'm going to go to the side, and look at that. Look at that spin. See, there's that clump. I'm going to go to the middle and make sure I get that clump. And then boom, I'm spinning it all the way till it's full. See that? I'm taking this, I'm going to the side, and get it till it's full. Now I'm going to come to the side, and get till it's full. See how it spins? I'm getting really nice agitation, making sure it's all completely saturated. Now during this, I flubbed up. You were supposed to start a timer right at the beginning. I started it after. So I'm going to assume that took 20 seconds to do. At 4 minutes, we're going to do what's called breaking the crust. So I'm going to do it really at 3 minutes and 40 seconds because I forgot to hit start before I started cupping. So at 4 minutes, or 3:40 on my clock, but typically 4 minutes if you're not a dunce and you forget to start your timer, we're going to we'll do what's called breaking the crust. I'm going to take my spoon and I'm literally going to break this crust. Now there's a crust forming similar to a bloom when you're making a pour over. All right, when you make a pour over, you have that bloom and it's kind of a crust, and when you pour back in, the bubbles really start to explode. Now the crust will get thicker or thinner depending on two big variables: the lightness or darkness of roast. So the lighter the roast, the less CO2, the less crust. The darker the roast, the more crust because of more CO2. The other variable is the freshness. So the fresher the roast, the more the crust. The older the roast, the less the crust. So you can have incredibly thick crust if you have a dark roast that's a day off roast. You have incredibly thin crust if you have a light roast that's a month off roast. So what we have here are 3 relatively light roasts, and they're a month and a half off roast. So the crusts are very much thin. This one's pretty much already broken. This one has some structure. This one has partial structure. Now, with fresh coffees, you're going to get like a thick crust, right? So keep that in mind. It's going to look a little different. That if you have a really thick crust, you didn't do anything wrong. You're probably drinking a more developed coffee or a coffee that's a few days off roast, and that's valid. In fact, most roasters are cupping within 24 hours of their roast. So typically when you're at a roastery and you see them cupping and they're pushing the crust, it's a thick crust, like a centimeter in depth, or I was going to say diameter, but it's not a circle. Anyway, it's about a centimeter deep. So I don't have that here. It's like a millimeter, and it's because they're old and light. So, which is fine. You can cup anything. Doesn't matter how old it is. It's still going to give you a good experience. Anyway, so at 4 minutes, I'm going to observe the wet aroma. Now, you can go ahead and start observing now. Now that I've poured water in, it's going to give us a wet aroma, but it'll be intensified once I break that crust. But again, the difference is minuscule here because there's not much of a crust on any of these. But typically when there's that thick crust, when you push back, more of those aromas are going to release because it is trapped by the crust. So it's like in the beer world. People say that when you have a nice head of foam on it, that you're able to trap aromas, and so you'll enjoy it more as long as that foam can stay there. Same thing's happening. That aroma's getting trapped below the crust. And it's the same reason why when you're making a pour-over, brewing percolation style, after you break your bloom, you get a lot of intense aroma just knocking you in the face. Same thing's happening here. So whenever we break the crust, we're going to get really close, and we're going to do the breathe out, get really close, and we're going to break and breathe in. Actually, look at this. It looks like a little smiley face. How cute is that? 2 eyes and a smile. Isn't that so cute? Sometimes that happens. But yeah, we're going to get close. We're going to break and breathe in. Break, breathe in. So go ahead and observe observe the aroma if you're cupping along with me, and then observe it again when you're breaking. You're going to get a more intense release of that aroma. So I'm going to take my spoon, and I'm actually, before doing so, I'm going to take these extra bowls I have, and I'm just going to fill these with hot water. This allows me to clean in between so that I don't do cross-contamination, right? If I break the crust with a spoon and I go without washing it to the next one, I'm going to cross-contaminate the coffees. I don't want that. I want each coffee to stand on their own. All right, we're at 340. I'm just going to wet my spoon. And I recommend always having a rag nearby to tappy so you don't have any drippy. And we're going to just come down and watch closely. All right, so as you saw, I got really close and I am agitating the grounds like this. And I also like to smell the oils and whatnot that are on the spoon. I'm going to get really close and just... Now, you'll see a lot of different roasters do this a lot of different ways. A lot of cuppers do this a lot of ways. Some people stir. I like to kind of do 3 kind of circular motions like that. Some people just go forward and back. There's a lot of different ways. Honestly, all you're really kind of doing is agitating it one more time and breaking that crust to really experience that release of aroma. Now, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take 2 spoons, and you see when they're in each other and you start to come out, they're forming a wall, right? Nothing can get by. So I'm going to put these, and when they're still together, they'll touch both sides of the walls. So I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to, watch this, see how I'm able to trap those floaties. Look at that. Boom, I trapped floaties. And I'm going to rinse it in this bowl, tappy. And there's a little bit left, so I'm going to do one more, like so. Like that. Now I have a clean bowl, okay? Now I'm going to tap, go to the next bowl. Look at that. I'm just cleaning. Tap into a different bowl. Tappy. That one's done in one. One and done. I'm coming. Put it in there. Tappy. Yeah, I'll go one more. All right. So now we are done with that. Now all we're going to do is I'm at 540, so really at 6 minutes. I'm going to wait until a range of about 11 to 13 minutes before I continue to cup. And really, there's no science behind this other than I don't want to burn my old tongue, my lingua. I don't want to get burnt up. You can do it at 9 if you have a tough enough tongue, or at 10. But to be honest with you, you're not going to taste too much there. The cooler it gets, the more prominent to me that acidity gets. So I really enjoy cupping around 13, 14 for my first sip. And I'll cup a few passes until about 18, 19, 20 minutes. And then walk away from the table, let this sit until about 45 minutes or an hour, come back and revisit. When it's cool, it'll be completely different. You might be able to detect defects when it's cooler than you would be if it was really hot, and you'll get more, I think more of the acidity is going to be popping when it's really cool. It's kind of like if you forget your cup of coffee, it gets cold, you sip it, and it's really, really acidic. Same thing's going on here. It'll be more palatable in my opinion because it's been marginally extracting more and more after about 4 minutes. But yeah, so you just walk away, come back after about an hour, and taste it again. So I'm going to walk away until I hit about 11 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and start the slurp. But just to hit everything once more during this wait, since why not? We have wait time. Just know that this is an incredible way of cupping. There's no potential for channels because guess what? It's just water sitting in grounds, and we agitated it all to really break up any clumps. So no channels going on, just sitting there and extracting and extracting and extracting. And then we're just going to be evaluating it from the spoon, which is very simple, and I'll show it again in more detail soon, but we're just taking the spoon, going down, getting some in the bowl, and aerating over our tongue. But I'll explain that when I get back from my quick break, so I'm going to just... All right, we're back. I have sat around and waited while twiddling my thumbs to taste these delicious coffees. I'm at 10 minutes and 20 seconds, so I'm about to take some of this coffee. Ooh, there's a dog hair from when I picked up my dog a second ago. Gross! I'm going to take a little bit of this into my spoon, and I'm going to, what you're going to do when you're cupping is you're going to just... And essentially, the louder the slurp, the better. And it's not for flexing. It's because it's that will demonstrate that you are powerfully suctioning that coffee into your mouth. You're spraying it. You're trying to spray it over your tongue to open up the surface area as much as possible, which will allow you to experience more of the aromatics of the coffee, which directly, obviously, contribute to the flavor profile. All right? The aromatics are like one of the most complex things about coffee and about beverages in general. So we're at 11 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and just take my first slurp. So we're going to take this. You don't want to fill this spoon up too much. We're going to take that spoon and I'm going to take it up to my lips like so and just go. And I like to kind of roll it around my tongue a bit. Now I'm going to tappy, no drippy. I'm going to take this one. We're going to take it up and just go. All right. Tappy, no drippy. Take this and... All right, now, while you're going through and doing this, I would recommend if you're cupping a few coffees, or if you're planning on having more coffees throughout the day, sorry, this is a solid cup, but it doesn't really matter. What I recommend doing is having what you would refer to as like a spittoon. You can take a milk pitcher, you can take a cup, anything, so that you're not getting over-caffeinated, but after you cup, spit it out. That way, you're not going to over-caffeinate on your coffee. And you're just going to take a few passes. And really work through the coffees, allowing it to settle over your tongue as a mist to really experience those aromatics. We're just going to... Of course, you can swallow if you'd like. Again, when you're doing this, if I were to sit and slurp this down to the grounds, I'm going to have a ton of caffeine. And I don't really want that. I've already had like 2 or 3 before. Now I'm maybe 8 or 9 cups of coffee today. But yeah, so go through, and now I'm at 1240. You can just keep going through and taste it as it's cooling down, and you're going to get a different flavor profile. I find, for me, when it's at its hottest, it's really kind of difficult to perceive those really acidic, nice, pleasant notes like the fruits and whatnot. You're getting more of the bigger, overpowering, kind of like caramels and chocolates and whatnot. So that's for me as well. Palates are different around the world. Taste is subjective, right? So I just want to make sure you know that what it tastes like at 12, 13 minutes is not what it's going to taste like at 16 minutes or at 20 minutes or at 24 minutes or at an hour. It's going to continue to evolve. Coffee is so cool in that way. It's a completely, constantly evolving coffee. It's volatile. It's temperature dependent, it's grind dependent, it's recipe dependent, it's dependent on the water recipe, on your machinery. all of these things contribute to what you're going to taste. So we're just going to sit there and we're going to continue to taste as it cools. Don't want to make a mess, so we're going to tap that towel. I'm just going to take it. And you don't have to have a loud slurp or anything. Mine's actually not loud at all. There are people who are whistle slurpers, and it sounds like they have this high-pitched whistle when they're slurping. You can also just do, you know, just a... The thing with pushing for a louder slurp is the more vigorous you are in that intake, the more mist-like it will be, the more... How do I say this? The more... I don't want to say accurate, but the more, I guess, full your experience of that coffee is going to be because you are turning it into little mist, right? It's going to open that surface area up and you're going to allow more of that aroma. So just... Ooh, yum. These are nice. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going on. Now, I'm not going to obviously wait till an hour and keep doing it. You get the gist of this. But I just want to point out that I know that I didn't weigh the water coming out, and it's because as long as you have your coffee weighed to within 1/10 of a gram, a couple of milliliters of water over or under is not really going to affect what it's going to taste like. You want to make sure that you have that coffee weight down within 1/10 of a gram, okay? That's very important. And you want that temperature around 97 Celsius or around 207 Fahrenheit. And you want that grind size on the finer end. And honestly, I probably could have gone a little finer with these. But anyway, try it out at home. It's a great way, again, to detect any type of the flavors that are in the coffees that you're ordering. It'll give you a good idea if, like, your friend has, like, a dose of a coffee for you that you really want to try. It might be a good idea to cup it and decide if you want to commit to a whole bag or not. Because if you have just one dose of coffee and you're like, well, I need to brew this perfectly to really experience it. A lot of people say that cupping is the tastiest way of experiencing coffee anyway. You do the dry fragrance, the wet aroma, you're gonna do the crust break, you're gonna clean, and then you're just gonna wait until, you know, 11, 12, 13, 14 minutes, and then just start slurping away. And remember, no drippy drippies, okay? We're just gonna... All right, well, that is all for me today. Thank you again, and I'm gonna appeal one more time. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you enjoy my content, please take just the second and wherever it's at, right here maybe, there's a big red subscribe button. That'd be awesome if you clicked that. Maybe hit the bells for notifications. Maybe give this video a thumbs up if you think you're gonna try it or if you enjoyed it, or if my silliness was enjoyable at all or entertaining. Appreciate you all as always. Yeah, cup some coffee at home. Tag me on Instagram with your cupping attempts. Yeah, I hope to spread this love because I do think this is a glorious way of cupping or of enjoying coffee. And if you haven't tried it, I think you'll really enjoy it. All right, thank you so much. Keep the lookout for more videos in the future, and cheers.